But break action is really cool because you don't see a lot of this kind of style. What's really odd is that it's not actually a trigger, it's a faux trigger, it's fake. Before 2020, Dart Zone really wasn't that big. Now in 2018 and 19, they did do a few things that got some note. The Savage Spin and the Nerf Pro, or I mean Adventure Force Pro, and the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1. But besides that, they weren't really known or that well known or respected. Before even like the stuff like the Savage Spin started coming out, Dart Zone was just kind of there. They were like a better version of Buzzbee, so to speak. And they had some pretty decent budget blasters. But I think that's where they shined the most. Back then, like, I like Dart Zone now for sure, but back then, they had some unique designs and they actually took some steps for innovation. Now they're just kind of copying and sometimes improving blaster designs. Like, I really miss the original unique designs. That's why I liked, what was it called? It was the one with the double mags. That was really cool. And they have some innovation, but lately there just hasn't been their unique style to things that they used to have. I feel like their older blasters were more unique and more like original. I really miss the days where we had more original Dart Zone blasters. And yes, I like their new blasters, or most of them, but I feel like they kind of lost their originality and their, you know, their sense of uniqueness that they used to have. And one of their blasters happens to also be one of my childhood favorites. This might actually be one of my favorite blasters of all time, strictly due to nostalgia. But the blaster by itself is pretty unheard of and is really unique. And that is the Dart Zone Legendfire. An absolutely underrated gem that really needs to make a comeback. And I'll explain why. The Legendfire came out quite a while ago. Like, I was in my kind of earlier Nerf days, and it was back when we just had, like, Elite was around and stuff, but most of the blasters we had were Inch Strike stuff that we usually had. We didn't get a lot of new blasters, but we usually just used older ones. And then I got this for my birthday for, I believe, like 15 bucks, and I was blown away. And this was where I got the real first taste of Dart Zone. And I couldn't have been happier. This blaster was my primary for like 2 years, and I absolutely love the heck out of it. But let's get on an overview, starting with the grip. The grip has an interesting thing. It pretty much has Villainator syndrome. There's not really a good place to put your hand. Now you can definitely orient it like this, and it's pretty comfortable, but it's probably my biggest complaint with this blaster because the grip is a little odd and off. Same with the Villainator. The main trigger, what's really odd is that it's not actually a trigger. It's a faux trigger. It's fake. It's just for cosmetics and comforts. However, it is pretty cool. It does add some comfort, and I know a lot of people complain about that, but I think it adds to the uniqueness of the blaster. So if the trigger's fake, how does it work? Well, you grab this pump handle, and yes, this is like a pump handle. It's pretty comfortable. It's a little small, but it's pretty comfortable. And the pump handle is actually what fires the blaster. This is a strictly slam fire blaster. Really cool. On the top, there's actually a piece you could get, and I actually have it here, but I don't have the extra cylinder, but it's a piece that holds an extra cylinder that you can swap out, because this blaster has a really cool thing. It's actually break action. You pull this little thing back, and you get the barrel, and you can switch out cylinders, and it's really cool. I actually have the attachment for it back here, and this attachment goes right on the back here and holds a cylinder, like this. But break action is really cool because you don't see a lot of this kind of style. Break action cylinder blasters, that's pretty cool. Now it doesn't have a stock, and I don't think it honestly needs one. However, it could have benefited for it because of the style that it has, but it's fine without a stock, I think. And it's honestly just great, like design-wise. They really went all out with the design. And it looks so unique compared to anything else I think I've ever seen. But how does it perform? Well, it actually performs fairly decent. Dart Zone blasters back in the day got an average of like 80 something FPS, so a little bit more than the standard Nerf par. However, this one's used, so it may not get as much. But what's really cool is the cylinder actually holds 9 darts. Yeah, 9 darts, actually pretty good, and you got 2 cylinders, so 18 darts is not bad at all. So you have a good capacity and the swappable cylinders. That makes it a really practical blaster for its time. And you just load up your darts in here, and you don't use the trigger like I said before, but you pull back the, I'm just leaving my finger on the trigger just to annoy someone, so don't worry. I mean, like, I think it's good to keep your finger off the trigger, but it's not a real trigger, so it doesn't count. Anyhow, but like I said, to fire the blaster, you just pull back on the pump handle. And it's pretty easy. It's a little stiff pump for like a younger kid. I remember back when I was like 7 or 8, and I have a little bit of trouble pumping this, but overall it's really good. I think I was actually like 9 or 10 at the time, so a little inaccurate. But yeah, like you would pump this, and it was a little hard, but it wasn't bad, and it's really easy for me now. And you run out of ammo pretty quick, even though you have 9 rounds, and you just break out your cylinder, and then you put in a new one. Now, you can't flip it up like this or the cylinder's gonna go flying out, so you do have to kind of close it manually instead of just flipping it, which kind of sucks, but you can flip it down like that and it works fine, but you can't, exactly why you can't do that. But this blaster is such a cool design and so unique. It reminds me of the old days of Dart Zone, where they were just different from Nerf, or they were different from other companies. They weren't trying to copy anything. Busby usually copied some stuff. They moved from being different. Every company was like moving from being different, and Dart Zone was the longest holding out to keep things like different and new. And then in 2020, they actually, well, they made the Villainator. That was kind of somewhat new, and like it was a little bit more unique. But eventually, they just kind of started copycatting other blasters instead of making their own unique designs. I feel like even though this would have been maybe more practical as a pump than fire, you know, just like, I think that leaves out the uniqueness. This blaster now has a niche, and it has a unique thing to it, a unique gimmick. It's a Slamfire only blaster, and that's so cool. And if they ever re-release this, I would be so happy, because the plastic is a bit cheap, because it is like older Dart Zone, and it does have like issues with it not being as durable with the internals, but I mean, it's still, this one still holds up, and I found it at a Goodwill, so that should say something. The new, I think the bluer ones are better than the green ones, because there's actually other variants of this. But yeah, Dart Zone, if you ever remake this blaster, hats off to you. I miss the days where I had so much fun with this as a kid, and the fact that it's not like more praised or not talked about as much really makes me sad, because like I feel like this is just one of the best underrated blasters, one of Dart Zone's best blasters from their older days, and I kind of miss the older days of Dart Zone. I will not lie on that. Alrighty guys, let's take it out to the range and get some numbers. We have a couple darts here at 42 feet, another dart here at 44 feet, the main grouping at 49 to 50 feet, so pretty good. Smaller grouping up here at 54 feet, and we have the furthest grouping at 58 feet. Not too shabby. So would I recommend this blaster? Yes, I actually would. Now, there are some conditions, obviously, like, do you really want a Slamfire blaster? Because your accuracy is going to suffer from Slamfiring without a stock. Obviously, that is something. It is kind of good as a secondary that you can kind of just whip up and spam a bunch of shots and then, like, you have a strap to the side. There is no sling mount, which kind of sucks, but yeah. Other than that, it's more of just a fun blinker, like, than anything else. Like, back in the day, I actually would recommend this over a lot of Nerf blasters because it had so much going for it, but now with like all the newer stuff, it just like, I feel like it's a little bit outdated. However, the fact that you get an extra cylinder that you can swap out so easily with this is pretty cool. And if you ever see one at like a thrift store or a good deal on eBay, I would totally recommend it. Anyway guys, thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.
My junk drawer, my junk drawer. So many things, I don't know what they're for, but I won't let it go, no, I will add more useless little things to my junk drawer.